Hello everyone, CryptoCarlos Fandango here again. Different type of video today. Might have a little bit of crypto in it, you'll have to wait and see. But we're going to be talking about my journey with Home Assistant and how I'm starting to turn my home into a smart home. I've been experimenting with a lot of things, trying different ways of automating bits and pieces in my home. Here is the Home Assistant dashboard, if I can wake it up, that I've been designing with all my rooms on, all my devices on, and I've also installed 3 voice assistants across the house as well, so we can all have a look at that. But let's start from the very beginning. What is controlling all this Home Assistant gear? And it's through there in the understairs cupboard. Okay, very hard to get into this very small space, but this is my understairs cupboard, and this is where I've got my HomeLab that has the PC that I'm running Home Assistant on. Yes, I could have used something like Home Assistant Green and paid about £99 for a device to run the Home Assistant operating system, but I already had a spare HP Elite Desk PC here that was quite up to the job. In fact, a little bit overkill, but it'll obviously grow and handle everything I push at it in the future. I had that, I bought that second hand for 30 quid and have been using it, so there was no point in spending £100 on any more hardware to do it. So I don't know if you can see it, it's just underneath the Dream Machine Pro there. There is the Elite Desk PC, very small footprint, and in the front of that, you might not be able to see, it's a Zigbee radio coordinator, because I have installed some Zigbee devices to test those out. Very cheap £30 unit, but allows you to control locally devices. So that's what's in the cupboard, that's what's controlling everything. Let's have a look at the dashboard and see what I've got on that now. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to see the tablet on the wall, but we're going to go through the dashboard upstairs on the computer anyway, because you'll be able to see all the devices and the layout of the dashboard and what I've used. But this dashboard is just a cheap tablet that I got on Amazon. It is running Amazon Android Go. Not a full Android system. That was a mistake on my part, and I'll tell you why. Android Go supposedly doesn't work with the Fully Kiosk browser, certain aspects of it, and I have got the Fully Kiosk browser installed on this tablet. I haven't found any issues with it. There are certain settings that I don't think I can change, but nothing major yet. As you can see, it's still displaying my my dashboard, and I'm getting all the controls fed back. So as you can see, Fully Kiosk browser is handling the camera on here as a motion sensor, so when I walk past this tablet it activates and displays the screen, and then to save power after a little while it'll go dark, and that's actually being done by turning the brightness control down, and the camera is just a motion sensor. Now obviously there is a little bit of a privacy concern having a camera activated on a tablet pointing in your sitting room. You don't want it to be exposed in case any hackers get into your system. Not that they should, but if they did. So what I found is a very, well, I think a unique idea for hiding the camera input but still allowing it to work as a very effective motion sensor. And this is what I'm using here. As you can probably see, it's a little clear plastic bubble adhesive rubber stopper. They're used on glass tables for making sure that the glass tables sit nicely and don't hit the underlying ironwork they're sitting on, and that's what I had them for. And I'd looked at various YouTubers who had said, oh, you can get little bits of gauze netting to put over it or whatever that'll occlude the camera input but still allow it to work as a motion sensor. But this does perfectly. I've got a whole pack of these for next to nothing, and it just stuck on there, and it does the job. If you turn the camera on, which I can't do at the moment, but if you had a look at the camera on the tablet, you would see that it's no visibility of anything going on. Even as close as I am now, it's just a blur. But as you can see, if I walk past it, wave my hand, it wakes the dashboard up, which is just what I wanted. Okay, it is not I haven't drilled into the wall and done any cabling for the power. As you can see here, I've got a short throw before it goes behind my media system here, and then it's trunked down to the power socket. So I'm not too worried about that for the moment. Long term, yes, I might drill through the wall and power it from the understairs cupboard, but I'm not going to do anything like that yet. But the fully kiosk browser, what it allows me to do is to monitor the battery percentage on this Android device. So what I've got is if it drops down to 25%, it then automatically switches on a smart plug behind the media center here, and then that allows the charging cycle to start, and then it will stop at 85. It won't go fully up to 100. It goes up to 85, and then it turns the charging unit off, lets the tablet deplete the energy again, and then restarts that cycle. As I say, this is a very cheap tablet, very cheap battery in it. It doesn't last very long at all, but hopefully the battery life will prolong because I'm using that sort of charging methodology. Very cheap Amazon stick-on brackets, perfect, just for temporary. They just plonk on. You just put a spirit level app temporarily on the tablet to make sure that you've got it aligned perfectly before you then press against the wall and stick it on. Take the tablet on, give them 24 hours to stick to the wall. Does the job for me. I didn't have to do any drilling or anything like that. As I say, the cable, I know it's not particularly tidy here, you can see it sticking out, but I could get a very L-shaped cable to tidy that up, and I might do that in future. Okay, so dashboard wise, the default dashboard at the front has got a list of all the rooms on the ground floor, a list of all the rooms on the first floor, with details of what are going on those. You can't see those, I know, so we'll look at those in detail upstairs. In the central portion, I've got the clock, and I've also got a calendar set up, and I've also got a swipeable task list and a swipeable to my heating thermostat. There's some weather information here. There's some information about my mobile phone, whether I'm home or not, because I can trigger certain Home Assistant automations based on that. Also visitors, things like that. And then at the very top, there's a load of badges that are on a scrollable portion, and they just give me various information about the home. So for instance, I've got my mobile and whether it's the charging, the battery percentage. We've also got the current temperature and humidity in this room, whether the heating's on or off. It is, because it's winter now and it's starting to get a bit chilly. Then a very interesting automation that I've put on from a Hacks integration that I'll tell you a bit more about, but it just tells me when my next refuse collection is and what kind of bins I've got to put out on that day. Very handy because I'm always forgetting. Then we've got the details of this kiosk, whether the battery's charging and what percentage it's on, access to a shopping list, various informations about the brightness sensor in this room, the battery in my thermostat and its level, just useful information. And I'm playing around with this all the time. I'm not sticking with this. It's been a period of experimentation to find out what information is useful to put on the dashboard. Because, you know, once you first get the setup, you're like a kid in a candy store. You're putting everything on there because it's available and you can see it. But it's a question of identifying what's useful to you to keep and tidying your dashboard up. Okay, let's have a look at the first of the devices here in the kitchen. If you notice, just above the clock here at the top, just hiding there, is a small white device, and that is a Toya motion sensor, PIR based, very cheap, cost £5. Didn't think much of that price, just thought I would try it and see what it was capable of. You know, having been new to the Home Assistant ecosystem, I have been experimenting with various devices, and this was one of the first ones. As PIR devices go, it's very good, and I use it to control the kitchen light that's just above me. So can't really put much intelligence around it, so it just checks to see what time of the day it is and whether the sun is up or down. So in the night, if you come in here, it will turn the light on. Only problem is, being a Toya device, it's obviously cloud-based at the moment, so there is a delay of 1 to 2 seconds when you walk in this room before the light turns on. I've got several options there. I can upgrade this device to a better one, and I might do that. It's only £5, it's throwaway money really. It would be a shame because I've got 4 of them, and I don't know, somebody might find them of use if I put them on eBay. But it looks like this will involve an upgrade, so it can be brightness aware in this room as well. The other option I've got is I could install the Toya local integration, so that brings all my Toya cloud-based devices over locally and allows me to control them locally without that cloud interaction. So that removes the delay. From the videos that I've watched on Toya local, they look quite intense. I don't know whether I'm going to tackle that or not, or whether I'm going to just replace my devices with ones that will run locally, because as a lot of YouTubers say, you want to distance yourself from any cloud-based interactions if you can, because A, the manufacturer might go bang and then you're left with a device that's of no use to you. You've got that delay problem. There's always a delay with cloud. And for lighting, it's not suitable really. You want it on instantly. And the other thing is privacy as well. You know, why would you put a device that's going to send everything to the cloud when you can control it locally? So I may be looking at that. Right, let's have a look at the next device in the kitchen. Okay, we're having a look at the second device in the kitchen, and this is a Zigbee compatible motion sensor that I've got on here. Very much like the Toya motion sensor, is battery controlled. Batteries can last about a year, so it just is stuck on the front of the machine here to register when the washing machine cycle starts, and then start the automation that's visible on the dashboard. It's got various switches inside that you can get to by removing the cover, so you can change the sensitivity, and it's also got an alarm in it, so you can actually use it as an alarm. It's got quite a high decibel alarm in it. It was about £25, very cheap, but does the job. As you can see, I've got washing in there now, and in a little while my dashboard will start reminding me that it's time to take that out. Okay, now we've moved into the sitting room and we've got the first of my voice assistants. I won't say its wake up word just yet, otherwise it'll start talking to us. But this is the Nabokasa Voice Assistant PE satellite. They are the cheapest I've found, brand new, is on a website called the Pi Hut, just over £55. Which is good, because if you look at eBay, there are still people selling them at £100 on there and trying to get better money for them. This device is one of 3 I've got in the house. One I did buy on eBay for about £40–50 second hand, and the other 2 are brand new from the Pi Hut, but they're all similar price point. And it just plugs into a USB-C socket on the wall there to power it, so it's always on. It has configuration for the LED ring on the front. There's a button to wake it up if you don't want to use the voice activation. You can even mute it. There's a switch on the side to mute it so it can't listen at all. But out of the box, they're not very good. The default configuration, the Home Assistant voice recognition stuff is not brilliant, but if you're thinking of putting one of these in, I can recommend that you do a little bit of exploring on YouTube, because I found some good information on there about how to use some integrations like Piper and Whisper for text-to-speech and speech-to-text, which are a lot quicker than using any cloud-based versions of it like Google Gemini's or anything like that. And also there are various options for getting a much better conversation agent on it. If you don't want to keep it local fully, there are, well, I'm using one of the Google Gemini conversation agents because it sounds good and it's intelligent. I did try the ChatGPT one, which was of very similar nature. So they're good. You can configure those in if you're not worried about talking to Google. You do need an API key to do that, so you need a Google account to set it up, but I haven't found any issues with it at all at the moment. And then of course there's an intent script behind this that tells it how to operate and what you want from it. and I'll show you that in a moment because it's quite a detailed sort of script that I've given it to be able to perform for me. So let's have a look and see what she's capable of. Okay, Naboo, can you tell me what the temperature and humidity are in the sitting room?
The temperature in the sitting room is 20.9 degrees C and the humidity is 55%.
So as you can see, a little bit of a delay there because obviously it's going to the cloud. But there is an option in the configuration where you can say, only go to the cloud if you can't handle my request locally. So most of the commands that you give it, it will handle locally and won't bother, so they're a lot more responsive. Things like the time and stuff like that. Or the weather. But yes, it's been very, very good. I think I've had one firmware update I've had to do since I've had them. There doesn't seem to be a lot of movement in the updates at the moment. They're pretty static, so that's good. And yeah, it's a good little device. And as I say, a better option than using an Alexa or Google Home Assistant, because you've got the option to stay local if you want. Okay, now we're looking above my 50-inch plasma television, and I don't know if you can see it here, but here is the eMotion Pro. It's the cheaper version, around about £30 on Amazon. Mixed feelings about this. When I got it out of the box, it comes with this very wonky stand, very plastically, very cheap, very easy to break, and mine wasn't put together obviously at the point of manufacture, and I had to work it out myself. It's not doing a very good job, hence at the moment, to stay in the right position where I need it, I've got a little plastic see-through container against the wall, and it's stuck to that with its adhesive pad. And I've looked online to see if there are replacement stands or anything suitable for mounting up here. I haven't found anything yet. If you know anything that would make it a little bit nicer to look at and give it some rigidity, please do tell me in the comments. But what am I doing with this? Well, this device is capable of several things. It can monitor the brightness in this room, and what are the other things? Motion, obviously. It can it's millimeter radar, so it can monitor the distance a person is moving in this room. Only one person, it's not multiple person detection. But obviously it can see if I'm walking past in the zone in front of the TV to the kitchen, or it can tell if I'm going to sit on the sofa at the back. So there's a load of possible automations for that. But the main thing at the moment is the brightness. It monitors the lux, and if it's below a certain level, even if it's just bad daylight and you can't see in here, it will turn the lamp on in the corner because there's a smart switch behind that lamp that it can talk to. I think it's a Matter smart switch, another option for local stuff. So that's all it's doing at the moment. Yes, it'll tell you the distance the person is from the sensor. You do have to play around with the sensitivity of it. I've had problems where my cat's been coming down in the night and triggering the light, so I've got some tweaking to do there with the sensitivity and the times that it activates that light. But quite a few options possible with it, and I'm still exploring them. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell icon so that you can be informed of the videos I put up in the future with tips and hints that I find out. Okay, we're in the data room. There's a couple of devices in here that I'm automating. One being the cabinet lighting. There's a Everready Energizer lighting strip in here, multiple colour, does all sorts of stuff. It's very easy. If I want to turn it on, I can just do it by voice. I can change the brightness, change the colour, all those sort of things. But I can also have it automate and come on at night and just stay on for a while in here in case I'm working in this room. The other thing at the back is I've got a temperature sensor that's linked to the tray fan in the top of this data cabinet. Not needed at this time of the year, as you can see from there, 23.5 degrees in this room, not very hot at all. So the cooling kicks in automatically at the moment with the sensor at the back when it reaches 30 degrees in here. But all that can be tweaked from my dashboard now downstairs. Okay, we're in the bedroom now, having a look at some of the devices I've got in here. Say hello to Bella, my Norwegian forest cat. Okay, facing the doorway in the bedroom, I've got another one of those Toya PIR sensors, one of the cloud-based ones. Once again, a 1 to 2 second delay walking past the doorway before it triggers the headboard and the bedside lights in here, just on a white colour, so that you can see what's going on in the room when you enter. Simple as that. Once again, I want to upgrade this. I particularly want a sensor that is going to monitor whether I'm standing in the room or whether I'm lying in the bed, rather than getting a pressure sensor for the bed, so that this doesn't trigger the on and off of the light. When I'm in the bed, I would just want, if I turn it off, I want it off. I don't want to move my arm, as is happening at the moment, and it start the headboard light and the table lamp lights at the same time. So this is definitely going to have an upgrade at some point, to have something a bit more intelligent here that I can control. And on the platform over here, we have the second of the Home Assistant P satellite devices, exactly the same as the one downstairs, hooked up to an old Bluetooth speaker, which is perfect, and just allows me to control things in the bedroom with my voice, whether it's in any of the rooms. I can do a check if all the lights are off before bed, anything like that. And I'm also using it as an alarm in the morning. I have an automation that slowly rises the headboard and bedside lamps from 5% 30 seconds later to 10%, 30 seconds later to 15%, and then eventually kicking in with an audible wake-up call from the voice assistant. Okay, Naboo, can you turn the lighting on in the bedroom? And the headboard lights have come on. Okay, Naboo, turn off all lights in the bedroom. And they're off. Instant. No delay there at all, which is really good. And as I say, you can get it to do all sorts. It turns on my projector, which projects on the wall behind me with my Roku Express. All sorts of automations. One thing I did forget to show you downstairs is that in 4 of the rooms, 2 upstairs and 2 downstairs, I've got these Bluetooth controlled fans that have both LED lights in them, and the ones downstairs have 3 fan speeds, the one upstairs have 6. I haven't automated the ones upstairs yet, but the one in the living room, I can control that with voice. And eventually, next summer, I'm going to put in automations that will monitor the temperature and switch that on automatically if it's getting too hot in the rooms, start some air circulation. So that's going to be good. Okay, we're in my home office now, and there's various things being monitored in here. First of all, the main PC, my home PC. Behind me, I've got a MacBook Pro, and I've also got a work laptop, and I've also got a Windows 11 machine in here. All those are being monitored and their states being reported on the dashboard, and I can inquire as to their states. Let's say I go to bed and I think, oh, have I left my computer on? I can just query it through the Home Assistant voice and get a response. At the moment, I can't control those devices, but there are the options with Wake on LAN built into most of these pieces of hardware, that I should be able to shut them down and start them using voice commands as well. So that's also very handy. The other thing we've got in here is the third of the Nabu Casa voice assistant PE devices, and I've got this mainly in here because it can't hear me in the bedroom, which is adjacent. It's handy to have one in here to do things and check things, and also use it as a normal AI assistant. And my intent script is not fully excuse me, controlling it to only respond to Home Assistant requests. It's there for general knowledge, it's there for all sorts of things. So if you want to convert something quickly or find out what an exchange rate is, you can do all of that through this device. It's becoming really handy to have it on hand and not have to fire up ChatGPT on your phone and then press a button. You can ask it information straight away. Okay, Naboo, what is the value of my Ethereum portfolio at the moment?
I'm sorry, I cannot find any information about an Ethereum portfolio. Did you mean your Bitcoin, Ethereum, or storage portfolio?
Ethereum.
I'm sorry, I don't see a Syrian portfolio. Did you mean your Ethereum portfolio?
Yes.
Your Ethereum portfolio is currently worth £286.60.
We got there eventually. I'm not the clearest of speakers. I need to work on my pronunciation, I think, for her to understand me a little bit better. And then maybe some tweaks with the intent script or other configuration I can change to make it better. Most of the time she gets it right. Of course, as soon as you go live on camera, it's different. But she got there in the end. So that's all the devices in here. As I say, I've got that hooked up to a cheap Bluetooth speaker behind, and that allows me to pipe music in through here as well, from the dashboard. But it's time to have a look at the dashboard in a little bit more detail now. So we're going to switch to the computer and go through so you can see everything that I was trying to show you downstairs that was too small. But we'll have a look at the various things that are set up on the dashboard, and then we'll leave it there for now. Future videos will come, and we'll talk about new devices that I've installed and how I've got on with them, ones I've replaced, new automations I've created, and things like that. Okay, you've probably been watching that, maybe for the first time, and you'll be thinking, what on earth is Home Assistant? I talk a lot about the devices and my dashboard and how I'm controlling them, but I've not told you a lot about how you get Home Assistant. So let's have a quick look at that. So Home Assistant, it's open source. It's created by a community, and it is basically a development environment that allows you to add in your various smart devices and control them, create dashboards, and the possibilities are absolutely endless. There is a whole community of integrations that you can put on your dashboards that will allow you to do certain things, and then you can use your own development environment to extend those and do more with them and display them. So it's a development environment that allows you to create dashboards on mobile phone, on tablets, on computer, and from those you can design screens that handle the various items in your home, much as I showed you on my tablet. And there is a lot to Home Assistant, too much to cover in this video. I would implore you to go on YouTube and search for some Home Assistant specific videos that can give you the basic steps to how it's installed and how to get it up and working, which is really quick. I was surprised, to be honest. There are various options open to you as well about the hardware you put it on. As I spoke about earlier, you've got the Home Assistant Green. I think there's a Home Assistant Orange. Very tiny devices. You can use a Raspberry Pi 4. Very low power consuming devices that you can run Home Assistant on. But as I said, I opted for a old PC I had, Elite Desk, which we'll have a look at in a minute. But if you go to the Home Assistant website, homeassistant.io, it speaks about the Home Assistant voice preview editions that I showed you, and various other bits and pieces. The Home Assistant Green, if you want something out of the box that you can just install easily, or you don't want to get down and dirty with the hardware and configuring it yourself, these options are all available. There are so many things you can do with Home Assistant. For a free piece of software and the support of products it has within it is unbelievable. I'm amazed at what it can do, and the possibilities are endless. So have a look at it and see if it's for you. And if you've got hardware around, reuse it like I did, as I can show you here. This is the HP Elite Desk that I purchased that cost me £34.99. An i4 Pro, 8 gig of RAM and 120 gigabit SSD in that device. And yes, probably too much for what Home Assistant requires, but I thought I'm not going to spend more money. I'm going to use that, and you can use devices like this, Intel NUCs as well. And you know, it'll handle what I'm going to throw at it at the future. And then there's a dedicated section for the voice PE devices, which are amazing. for the price, what you can do with them. They can run local or in the cloud. Here's the live prices. And as I say, they're about £55, I think, at the Pi Hut. They're specifically built for use with Home Assistant to give you that local and privacy option. Although, if you don't want to do that, you can do Cloud Assistant processing with it. And if you want to, you can use Google OpenAI conversation agents, which you can link in and you can tinker with. You can change the intent script. You can change what processing you're using for text-to-speech and speech-to-text synthesis to speed it up, as I have done. And we'll have a look at my setup in a minute. So that's another option for you. Now I'm going to show you some of the other devices that I've shown you on the tour. So the first was that tablet that I bought. That I did make the mistake of not buying a dedicated Android, but an Android Go tablet. But as I say, even though it said fully kiosk browser wouldn't work with it, most of it is. I've not been able to get it yet into a sort of full screen lockdown sort of version where it's not got the Home Assistant tabs, but I'm pretty sure that's just a question of tinkering with some settings. So whilst they say in the documentation fully kiosk browser doesn't support Android Go, on this particular tablet I'm not finding that yet. But don't take my word for it, do your research if you're thinking of getting a tablet to run your dashboard. But as you can see, that was brand new, £50, 6 gigabyte, 1288 screen, Wi-Fi 6, BT5, 10.1 inch octa-core processor. It's not particularly fast. Running Android Go, it's a cut down version of Android, and there's a reason for that. The hardware probably struggles to run the latest versions of Android, but it'll run the latest version of Android in its Go representation. So, you'd be hard pushed to find a second-hand tablet for that price, which you could use by all means. But for brand new, that was not bad at all. And then some of the other devices I've purchased, obviously from Link & Link, I brought the eMotion Pro, which is this one. And that's that millimeter wave radar device that I told you about. And that just works out of the box. Link & Link has an app that you can run on your phone that you connect it with. After that, it's available in Home Assistant to you. And they do a lot of products, and they do a lot of other devices like gateways and that, which you don't need with Home Assistant. That's the beauty of it. You do not need these devices if you're running Home Assistant. They've got the integrations for you. The next thing is those Toya PIR motion sensors that I've got in the kitchen and I've got in the bedroom. As you can see, they were £5.39 on eBay each. And yes, they are PIR, and yes, they are cloud-based at the moment. And so you've got that delay. So they're not suitable for lighting triggering, although they do work. But you've got the local Toya integration option to bring those, locally to you and control them from within your Home Assistant ecosystem. So for £5, they're not bad if you just want to experiment and see what's possible, as I have done. The other thing that I bought was very similar, once again, cloud-based, but I wanted to test controlling non-smart devices. So once again, in the bedroom and in the sitting room downstairs, I'm using these very tiny devices. They're about that big with a USB on the back. And once again, you have to link them in the Toya app, but you can set them up in the Toya app to control certain devices that work off infrared remote controls. So like my fans do, my Roku does, my TV does, my Sony sound base does, my LED lights around the TV does. So what I was able to do with this in the sitting room is add all those devices to it and learn some of the remote controls like on, off, and volume and LED brightness, things like that. Once I had those in the Toya app, I was able to import those via the Toya integration into Home Assistant so that I could see those and talk to them as scenes. So although it's not truly smart, I am able to use one automation, which is named differently, either turn TV on or turn TV off, and it just fires across that whole device suite and controls it, and it works brilliantly. And these things were £6.64 each. So it gives you the option to explore on the cheap before you buy some of these more expensive £30 plus devices that have other things built in, like brightness and smart control of their own, infrared control. It gives you an option to look at a cheaper version and play around with it. So that's what I did. I bought 2 of those, and they're working fine. I'm not even sure I'm going to remove them at the moment. There's no need to. This is the Link & Link eMotion Pro sensor, as I said. £24.79 I paid for this, but this is the standard version. There are more expensive versions, as you can see here. The difference is, I believe, that my version does not have a temperature and humidity sensor built into its cable. Some of the more expensive ones do. So you get the added benefit of having 2 new sensors included as well. I haven't looked a lot into the other bits and pieces, but yes, it's a good device. It works. As you can see, you can set zones and see the presence in what zone it is, and have different automations occur based on what zone that presence in. I think the more expensive versions as well might cater for looking at more than one individual. So if there are 2 people in the room and one is in one zone and one is in the other, it identifies that, so allows you to do, there's 2 people in the room. I want a different automation to run than would run if there was one. So lots of possibilities in that, and that's not out. That's not very expensive. £24.79, is it? That's why I bought it. It's a takeaway price, isn't it? The other thing I had to buy, and this was particularly to control that Zigbee device, because when I started looking at Zigbee devices, I was thinking about I wanted to run locally. I don't want any cloud integration or anything. So to run Zigbee devices, you need something called a Zigbee coordinator, and it comes in the form of a USB 3 dongle, looking like this. And it just plugs straight into your Home Assistant computer, and you can then install the Zigbee integration in Home Assistant, and it will find new Zigbee devices and integrate with them. Once again, £29.90. You can't really grumble at that. It's opened up the world of Zigbee devices, local devices, of which there are many. And I think that's the route I will be taking now. Any new sensor I'm looking at, it needs to be locally controlled. So Zigbee, possibly Matter, who knows? I haven't looked into Matter a lot yet. I know it's the sort of standard that everyone's starting to go in, especially Akara. So I need to do more investigation into that before I can comment on that. But Zigbee is good for me at the moment if I can find devices that match that protocol. And yes, the Zigbee radio controller is specifically to control this device, which is the Third Reality Zigbee vibration sensor with the built-in 110 decibel alarm. That's pretty loud, and adjustable sensitivity. So this is the one that I'm got on the front of the washing machine, that I'm only using the motion sensitivity off to trigger some automations around the washing machine. £16.99, not expensive. Again, I know it doesn't do a lot, but you could use that as a window sensor or something, have it set at night so 110 decibel alarm goes off if somebody breaks your window or something like that. There are a lot more possibilities with it than the use case I am using it for. And then this is quite a handy little product that I bought on Amazon, £22.59. This is Wi-Fi smart plug, but it's a combined UK socket and 2 USB ports, which is really good because it means I've got my TV plugged into one, and I can switch that on and off, and the USB ports in the same manner. The USB ports being used for that tablet on the wall so that it doesn't, ruin the battery by charging constantly. I can control the charging mechanism on that through those USB ports, which is brilliant. The main socket, I've got my TV plugged in, and there's a reason for that. I don't need it to be plugged into a smart socket because it does turn off with all the other devices that are being controlled by that eMotion Pro now. But my TV, even though it's on standby, has a habit of starting itself up. There's a click and it starts itself up. It looks like the screen's going to do something. And then after a couple of seconds, it'll turn itself off again. And it's a little bit suspicious why it's always done that. And even more so when you go through the settings and cannot find anything anywhere in the settings that says it does this, and that the manufacturer has this ability to do this. What it is doing, why it is doing it, who knows? But being able to control that plug, if I'm not watching the TV and I turn that plug socket off, it can no longer do that. And it's very disconcerting when it does it at night. If you come down into the sitting room, it can click and do that. And you think, have Samsung built some sort of sensor to do something? Is there a hidden camera in the TV? It's not a smart TV. It's not connected in any shape or form to the internet. But it's just very weird that it does it. But this takes care of it. Right. So that's a bit about some of the devices. I hope that's been interesting, and there's a few things you can look at there. Now we're going to have a look at the dashboard. So this is what's running on that tablet downstairs. You can see it a bit clearer now. You can see what's going on. So we're just going to have a whiz through what's on here. The video is already getting very long, so I'm not going to hold you up much longer. But I just thought it'd be interesting for you to see some of the things on here, and I'll explain a little bit about what's done behind the scenes to make it work. So main home screen. This is just like a summary screen, really. It's things that I want to see all the time, regardless of room. So we've got my mobile, the fact that I'm home now. Yes, it's monitoring zone and tells you what the battery is like. I have got an automation that goes through the voice PE devices and will shout at me and tell me the battery has fallen below a certain level and it's time to charge it. Home temperature, this is based on the thermostat on the wall downstairs in the sitting room, so it's only specific to that room. And humidity levels. And I have, without adding any automations, queried my voice PE assistant and told it, based on the temperature and the humidity in the room, would there be any advice to adjust it to be more comfortable? To which she's replied on several occasions, you could do with opening a window or a door and letting some fresh air in to balance with the humidity level outside, which is blah, blah, blah. So really useful out of the box. Just a quick little icon just to show you if the heating's on or off at the current time. It goes red, so you can see it clearly if the heating is on. Then, as I said, my local council collection. So you can see you've got 2 days on the 28th, the next collection. And it's food, but that's a green bin out for me, the food bin. But it's also a day where it's the blue bin, which is the recycling bin as well. And what happens is tomorrow this will show the blue bin as well. It'll cycle between the different bins because the local councils, on one day you can have the green bin, which is like the general rubbish, the brown bin, which is the garden, and the food bin, which is the green. So it cycles through those if it's that particular week for that collection. Very handy, and also got some automations behind that with voice prompts if I haven't put the bins out the night before. Kiosk battery level, that's for the tablet downstairs, and it's currently charging, so it must have reached below 25%, and it's now charging back up to 85 before it'll turn this socket off. Shopping list, yes, through voice control, you can maintain a to-do list of a shopping list type where you can voice add items to it. You can't delete items by voice, unfortunately, but there is a sidebar on Home Assistant where you can get access to do those sort of operations. You could build in an automation script, an automation to do that. I haven't got around to that yet, but it's very handy to have. If you sign up for the remote control Home Assistant, yes, another subscription thing coming here. Yeah, Home Assistant is free. You can run it locally free. But if you're a person who would like to run Home Assistant remotely, keep an eye on your home from a distance or change things remotely. You can do that for a subscription price. I'm not sure what that price is. I haven't looked into it yet. But basically, you run the Home Assistant app on your mobile device, and it will allow you to see this board, interact with it in any shape or form, and also get access to the underworkings of Home Assistant. That is very handy because what I've done with my shopping list is I've set up zones around the supermarkets that I frequently visit. And what I've got it to do is if I enter that zone to notify my mobile application with the current shopping list of items that have still got to be bought. That doesn't work yet because I haven't signed up to the subscription, but I'm thinking of doing that because there are other benefits as well around that. But that's a good automation to have, I think. Whether the thermostat's connected, when the next sunrise and sunset is. This is the battery level in my thermostat because it's not an electric powered thermostat, but the battery lasts absolutely ages. As you can see, it's full, and I can't remember the last time I changed it. It also has a sensor in that thermostat to know whether windows or doors are open, obviously monitoring the humidity levels in the room, temperature levels, and you can do various automations around that, like turn the heating off if somebody opens the door. You don't want to waste energy. So that's all the badges across the top. Where did that pop up from? Weather, it's just a summary here, but you can click on that and get a more detailed forecast. Time. As I say, this is when I last left and returned to home, monitored by my mobile device, and then some family monitoring, which is using ICMP ping to see if they're present. And I'm thinking about doing some fun automations around that when they arrive in the future. Then we got the ground floor rooms and the first floor rooms. And then this central portion here is the calendar. So you can see, yes, food and recycling is on the 28th of October. It puts that in automatically. I don't have to do that. Task list, which you can maintain of things you want to do. And then I've got my heating control here as well. External is eventually for when I put security cameras. I'm going to put some Unify Protect security cameras front and back, and maybe even one on the back fence facing the house as well. So I can do various automations around that. They will be available on this external tab. It will move to a screen where there'll be live feeds, notifications, things like that. And then into the kitchen. Now this has the one kitchen light and one sensor in it. At the moment, it's got the kitchen light here, which you can change colors and brightness levels of. I think if you click on that, yes, that's switched it on. Change the brightness, then you click the little light bulb and it'll turn it off again. This is my coffee grinds reminder. So during the day, it's brewing in progress. 5 o'clock, it will remind me by voice that I need to empty it. And it'll say, click here to stop that notification, which I will do. Once again, I want to put voice automation in so I don't have to go and physically click the button on the dashboard. And then there's the washing machine appliance automation, a little fun thing that I knocked up with ChatGPT over many weeks. There's a lot of scripting and a lot of different objects that were created to make that work. It's still not 100%, but I will do a video on it at some point in the future when I've got it fine-tuned. Office, number of devices, as you saw in that data cabinet over the other side of the room. The Windows 10 PC that's handling the Store.j node cloud database stuff. No, this is the wrong room. This is the office. This is where I am now. Forgive me. Windows 10 PC, which I'm on and recording now, is green because it's fired up. Windows 11 crypto wallet computer is off at the moment. That only comes on briefly to do certain crypto-based operations. MacBook Pro, I usually only have that on in the week aside because I'll be using this main screens here for my work computer, which is over here and off. And then we've got a Netgear switch underneath the desk here, 5-port managed switch that's being used to handle VLANs
And then over here, we've got my Western Digital Home NAS unit, which is over there, which contains files and bits and pieces. And you can see up here, it's got a little badge just for the assist satellite sat on the desk here that changes from idle to listening to processing to responding when it's doing its operations, just purely for diagnostic purposes, as I only put this voice assistant in yesterday. Sitting room, bit more happening here, a few more badges across the top. Same again, we've got a satellite downstairs, there's an assist satellite, so there's a badge for that. We've got an indicator as to whether presence is detected in that room or not. That was for diagnostic purposes again, might not stay on here once I've got the sensitivity levels right. But that changes icon and colors and will tell you when it detects presence. There's current brightness in the sitting room, 5 lux. Once again, that icon changes color if it moves into like the 10 to 15, 20 lux area where the sun's really shining. That'll go bright yellow, that icon. This is just telling me the Wi-Fi connection to that eMotion Pro device. I just wanted to monitor that and see whether it was getting consistent connectivity, because I did have a few problems with it out of the box. My own fault for not reading the instructions, but it wasn't getting enough power through the USB socket that I had it plugged into. It wasn't enough wattage or enough ampage, and so it dropped off the distance sensor and wouldn't support that in any shape or form. And it also was hit and miss as to whether it detected presence. I soon found the error of my ways, put the correct ampage and wattage plug. I think it was a 10 watt 2 amp plug on the USB, plugged it in. All is fine now. It's a lot better than it was. And we now have a radar distance being recorded as well. Unavailable at the moment because there's no presence in the room, but sooner as there is, you get a meter and centimeters readout there, quite accurate. But then again, it is millimeter radar, so it will be. Lighting wise, sitting room lamp in the corner, that's all automated by voice. The main light is the LED light in the middle of the fan unit I've got in the sitting room. That can be activated from here, but also voice controlled. The TV power, once again, yeah, that's part of the automation for the turn TV on, turn TV off, voice automation. Kiosk power, you can see, is on at the moment because it's charging that tablet. Then I've got details of the Roku Express that's joined to the TV, and my Sony soundbar I can turn on and off. Should I have something wrong with that device integration that is controlling that unit, I can override it here if I want to. Ceiling fan you can toggle on or off on its last spin setting, 1, 2, or 3. Heating's here again because it belongs in this room. And then I've got a little bit of a graph insight here just to monitor, especially now at winter, whether the temperature is dropping considerably or not. This will allow me to view that over the space of a week and see if I need to make adjustments to my heating. I might need to start integrating the schedule now as winter is rolling in so that it doesn't drop too far and doesn't go too high, and keep it in the sweet spot. So that's all that is for monitoring that. And then moving on, we got the music tab. So we've got the Sonos controls up here for loudness and crossfade. If the source is your own music library, which you can have on a file server and you can point it at, it will mix the end of the songs seamlessly for you. Bass and treble controls. And then, as I said earlier, we've got the speaker selection. So we've got the choice of the Sonos in the sitting room or the voice devices in the bedroom and office, which have Bluetooth speakers assigned to them. Now, whilst you can do that, use these voice PE devices for musical output, you have to be very careful because afterwards, if you pause the media players that are associated with those devices, I find that if you ask the assistant something, the voice breaks up. It's a bit like they're driving through a tunnel or loads of tunnels, and you get bits of the conversation and not all of it, indicating that there's some sort of issue impeding on it. And what I find is you have to go to the media player controllers for those voice PE devices and physically say stop. And you can do that by clicking on their icon and doing it from this interface here. Once you've done that, they seem to be all right. So that's why I've got these 2 extra icons on here for the voice PE devices that can handle music as well. Then this part all over here is all Sonos related. So there's the favorites. So you can go into the Sonos app. They have a number of radio stations that come with your app, non-subscription based, apart from the fact they have adverts in them. And you can add those favorites on your Sonos app on your mobile phone, and they automatically appear in this favorites list here. And then here's the controller for that. And then I've got a number of radio stations, my favorite radio stations. And these are clickable, and they will play to whatever device is selected in this drop-down box here. And you can also press and hold on the icon, and it will send the stop command to whatever bedroom or office device is playing to stop that voice, intermittent voice problem. So yeah, the radio stations, unfortunately, are for all 3 players. So they will play to the Sonos, or they will play to the 2 voice PEs, but the favorites list is only unique to the Sonos device. Excuse me. Right, next, crypto. So I've only developed this in the last couple of days after watching a few YouTube videos on how to do it, and also some extensive sessions with ChatGPT on the YAML scripting behind it. And I've just knocked up a dummy template for now. I'm playing around with what I want to see on here, whether this information is suitable, just trying to find what I need. I've put in, excuse me, I've put in some dummy share levels for 3 of the cryptocurrencies I hold. And I've also put links in the YAML scripting to the Yahoo Finance currency conversion rates for pounds. So you can see that it tells you what the current price of Bitcoin is in US dollars, but I'm doing a conversion of the share value here into pounds. So that's all happening using Yahoo Finance, which is quite a good integration, I think, because there's quite a lot on there. Now, I did read somewhere that Yahoo Finance was only for use in the US. I don't know how they're restricting that. I'm using a VPN on this device, but not on the Home Assistant device at all. And it seems to be quite happy with me querying the API every now and then to get the updated values. So I've not seen a problem with it. Most of these graphs are, you can hover and see bits and pieces across the trends, and on here as well. You can see, you can find out what that high was. And then the amount of shares, you can actually up that. It's a single figure. It's not keeping a transaction history or anything, but let's say I bought another 132 shares. I could just increment that figure and it would adjust on the dashboard immediately and show the new value. So I'm going to do an in-depth video once I've settled that down and got what I want on there of how to do that. And then the final tab is the health tab that just shows you the current memory, CPU, and disk space usage. So this one's a bit weird because it shows you the yellow bar is what you're using of the total blue bar, and that is the darker blue bar is what's left. It doesn't read very well, but it makes sense to me. And I've got a few little badges up here just to show me if the software is up to date, because you do get notifications about updates to the OS. But you can see they're all up to date, and my backup, excuse me, that's one of the important things to do. Before I do any integration changes or anything like that, or add devices or perform an update, I do a backup. Make sure that configuration's backed up so you've got your last working version to go back to should anything happen. So that's that. Now we're going to expand the sidebar a little bit, and we're going to start having a look at some of the things under the bonnet. So let's pick something interesting. Under settings, you can see here we've got devices and services, we've got automations and scenes, areas and labels, blah, blah, blah. Under automations, we can see there's quite a lot of automations I've got, all active, all doing various things when they're triggered by whatever, whether it be a device or a voice prompt or whatever. Let's have a look at one. Let's have a look at my bin collection reminder, because that's a very simple one. And the visual representation of this automation is very simple to read. It's when something happens, or when something else happens, or when something else happens, and a certain condition is met, then do this, 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 and this. It's as simple as that. And you can do all of that graphically. Or if you're comfortable with YAML scripting, you can go, let's edit the YAML for that. And as you'll see here, here is the scripting, the YAML scripting that is making that automation work. It's very simple to read. It's got an alias for it. There is a description if you want. The trigger on this one is right at 6 o'clock in the evening on a Monday, because my bin collection day is on a Tuesday. I want you to remind me about it. And then the action is on the assist satellite announce. I want you to say, Carl, it's bin collection day tomorrow. Have you put out the relevant bins? It has a device ID associated with the particular assist device it's going to put that out at. And then there's going to be a delay of 30 seconds before it announces it again on the one upstairs in the bedroom. What I haven't done here yet is put another 30-second delay in so that it announces it in the office if I'm in here. But that will be added in as well. So very, very simple. There are a lot of subtleties to YAML scripting, especially in Home Assistant, but it is made very easy for you. And some of the integrations and automations I'm going to show you in the future, I will go more in depth about the formatting of YAML for those. So let's just have a look at the interface for that again. So you can see here, when the time is equal to 8 on Monday, if we click that, you can see here that this is a time trigger. I chose time trigger when I clicked add trigger. There are loads of other triggers. You can do absolutely anything. Honestly, believe me, there's something in there to do what you need if you can think of it. So I'm saying, right, at a fixed time, 6 o'clock in the evening on a Monday. That is the time trigger. If that's met, look at the conditions. There's no conditions for this. It's just if that time is met, that's what we want to do. Then it says assist satellite announce. If we click that, we can see that I've chosen a particular Home Assistant, and that is the one downstairs. There is what it's got to say. There are some pre-announce options. I think it plays a little ping noise, a little chime beforehand, just so you don't get, freaked out by the sudden voice appearing. It lets you know. And then we got that delay item. So I popped in a delay of 30 seconds in there before it then announces it on the other device. And that is it for that one. So simple. And there are more complicated ones. Here's a good example. Motion detected and below 2 lux, lamp on in the sitting room. So this is one where it has a condition. So it's first off saying, right, if the eMotion Pro detects presence in the sitting room in all areas, so I'm not worried about any particular zone, it's just any zone triggers presence down there, and the brightness is below 1 lux. I usually find that's just before it gets dark, when you're thinking about putting lights on. So if it's below 1 lux, that condition is met, and then it turns on the sitting room lamp. So yes, that living room lamp is actually a Tardo controlled one through the plug that's on it at the moment, and the action is to turn it on. The drop down here, if I were to drop it down, you could see has loads of other actions associated with that sitting room lamp. And once again, you can go in and do all of that in here if you understand the scripting language. So there's loads of flexibility. Now, there are a lot of other things to go into, which I'm not going to bother now. All sort of template sensors you can set up that I've used in the washing machine and the coffee grinding scenarios. Loads of things you can do with dashboards. We can have a look at one of those now, just to let you know. So you can create multiple dashboards. You can get the kiosk browser to display a particular tab on a dashboard when an event occurs. So when my coffee grind automation kicks in, it changes to the kitchen tab automatically so that you can see it and action it if you want to. Associated with your user are the themes for the dashboard. There are loads of themes available on the community store and as add-ons. I've chosen this frosted glass one. I like the dark look of it with the buttons, with a sort of frosted glass look to it. There are loads and loads of others created by community members that you can download and use themes. I would suggest looking on YouTube for specific videos about themes. There are full Star Trek ones, Alien ones, you name it. People have made so many different ones, and they'll show you how to do it themselves. And then there are some users that have created their own dashboards and have supplied the code on GitHub, the YAML code, so that you can just pop it in and change the device IDs to your own ones. So there's lots of community support out there. It really is a great product. It's got great support behind it. It's fun to work with. It really is. And as I say, the possibilities are endless. The amount of devices you can find online to buy that will integrate with this. And just to give you an example, behind me, I've got a very dumb, very old exercise bike. The digital display on it is so old, it's giving up the ghost. So today I went online to have a look and see what the possibilities are. And with a little help from ChatGPT again to advise me on compatibility, I have managed to find a Home Assistant integration that I can use with a device, a cheap device that I can buy on Amazon that connects to the pedal arm of the bike, and you can configure it to control speed, RPM, cadence, all those sort of things. And it will feed back via the integration via a Bluetooth sensor, which I'm going to have in this office, an ESP Home Bluetooth device that costs a ridiculous amount of money with a 3D printed case, few pounds, and you've got a Bluetooth relay for your devices in your Home Assistant ecosystem. And that's going to allow my bike to talk to that Bluetooth device through to the integration. And my dashboard, I'm going to have a health and exercise dashboard that will have my exercise bike stats on it for me. And obviously I'll do some scripting around that to make that look presentable and to maintain it. So that's exciting. And that's just something I thought of. I thought, I wonder if that's possible without having to spend a few £100 on a new bike that's smart. And yes, you can make old devices smart. I've even seen people building ESP Home kits to bolt onto old fans, electric fans, that make them all of a sudden Bluetooth aware and smart, and you can control them. So if playing with hardware is your bag, this is the environment for you as well, because you can build your own things as well as buy things, which is fantastic. Anyway, that's it for that bit for now. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that, a little tour of where I'm going with Home Assistant. As I said, going to be a lot more videos about it, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail about how I drew up the dashboard for maintaining the crypto and things like that, because that is useful obviously to crypto enthusiasts. But I hope you liked it. Please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you can. The channel's not doing brilliantly. I'm trying to create interesting content, and it would be good if the channel can grow a little bit more. I think we've got 540 subscribers at the moment. I know some of those are going to drop off because the content style is changing a bit. Not a lot happening in the crypto space, but if you're finding what I'm showing you interesting, then please do hit the bell notification icon as well. But for now, I'll see you next time.